The Galactic Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystalline floors, its vaulted ceiling disappearing into artificial stars that mimicked the home systems of 1,000 different species. Ambassador Thexara of the Dominion Alliance adjusted her ceremonial robes as she watched the holographic displays update with the latest intelligence reports. The numbers were staggering, even by galactic standards. 15 star systems completely dark, reported General Crixmoth, his insectoid mandibles clicking with agitation. No communications, no energy signatures, no life signs, just silence. The assembled delegates from across the galaxy shifted uneasily in their various environmental suits and atmosphere bubbles. The Dominion Alliance had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia, their combined fleets numbering in the millions of ships. The crystalline hegemony controlled the most advanced technology known to science. The Hive Collective possessed billions of warrior drones ready to swarm any enemy. Together, these 3 empires had crushed every uprising, absorbed every independent system, and maintained absolute order across known space. Until now. "Show us the affected systems again," demanded High Counselor Vexinar, her telepathic voice echoing in the minds of every delegate present. The holographic display shifted, highlighting 15 red zones scattered across the Outer Rim territories. Each system had been prosperous, well-defended, and strategically important. Each had fallen silent within the span of a single rotation. "The pattern suggests a coordinated assault," General Crixmoth continued, his compound eyes reflecting the red warning lights. "But our intelligence networks detected no fleet movements, no weapon signatures, no energy discharges that would indicate conventional warfare." Ambassador Thexara leaned forward, her 6 arms gesturing toward the display. "Perhaps we're dealing with some form of biological weapon. The plague wars of the 4th era demonstrated how entire populations could be eliminated without traditional combat." "Negative," replied Dr. Zephalon, the hegemony's chief scientist. His crystalline form chimed softly as he accessed the data banks. "Our automated monitoring stations continued functioning until the final moments. Life signs simply ceased. No signs of disease, no decay signatures, no biological agents detected." The silence in the chamber grew heavier. For 3,000 years, these empires had faced rebellions, rival species, and cosmic phenomena. They had solutions for everything: overwhelming firepower, advanced technology, or sheer numbers. But this was different. This was something that left no trace, no explanation, no survivors to interrogate. "What do we know about these systems before they went dark?" asked Counselor Murthak of the Hive Collective, her voice buzzing through the translation matrix. Dr. Zephalon's form flickered as he processed the information. All 15 systems had recently been designated for civilization upgrading under Protocol 7. Indigenous populations were being relocated to make room for more efficient resource extraction operations. Protocol 7, the galaxy's most efficient method of dealing with primitive species. The empires would arrive with overwhelming force, demonstrate their technological superiority, and offer the natives a simple choice: immediate relocation to designated reservation worlds or complete extinction. Most species chose relocation. Those who resisted were eliminated as examples to others. "So we're dealing with some form of indigenous resistance?" General Crixmoth's mandibles clicked dismissively. "Impossible. The species in those systems barely understood fire, let alone interstellar warfare." "The humans," whispered Communications Officer Yathara, her tentacles pale with fear. All 15 systems contained human settlements. The chamber erupted in what passed for laughter among the various species. Humans were among the most primitive species they had encountered. Barely capable of chemical propulsion, no energy weapons beyond projectile firearms, no faster-than-light communication. They had been discovered only 50 standard cycles ago, inhabiting a single system called Sol. Most lived on one planet they called Earth, though they had managed to establish small colonies on nearby worlds. "Humans?" Ambassador Thexara's voice carried clear amusement. "Those bipedal primitives who still use metal projectiles as weapons. The ones who can't even maintain peace on their own homeworld? The psychological profiles indicate they're remarkably stubborn," admitted Dr. Zephalon. "When offered relocation, 97% of human populations chose to fight rather than comply. Most unusual for a primitive species. And they died for their stubbornness," General Crixmoth added. as recorded in our mission reports. But Communications Officer Yathara wasn't finished. Her tentacles darkened further as she accessed deeper files. That's just it, sir. According to our records, human resistance was eliminated in all 15 systems. Population counts went to 0. Confirmed kills exceeded estimated population numbers in every case. The laughter died. Then what killed our people? High Counselor. Vexinar's telepathic voice carried an edge of uncertainty that hadn't been heard in the chamber for centuries. Dr. Zephalon's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as he cross-referenced data streams. I'm detecting anomalies in the archived records. Energy signatures that don't match any known human technology. Electromagnetic pulses that suggest technological capabilities far beyond their documented level. Are you suggesting the humans have been hiding their true capabilities? Ambassador Thexara's 6 arms gestured dismissively. We've monitored their communications for decades. We've studied their technology, their culture, their military capabilities. They're barely spacefaring. Perhaps, Dr. Zephalon replied slowly. We underestimated what barely spacefaring means for a species that fights wars on multiple continents simultaneously, while exploring space, developing artificial intelligence and splitting atoms for energy. General Crixmoth's compound eyes fixed on the scientist. Explain. Most species achieve interstellar travel only after achieving planetary unity and peace. Humans achieved it while actively engaging in warfare, environmental destruction, and social upheaval. Their technological development follows no logical pattern we recognize. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. For 3 millennia, the galactic empires had encountered thousands of species. All had followed predictable patterns. Unity, then technology, then expansion. The idea that a species could develop dangerous capabilities while remaining primitive in other areas was unprecedented. Recommendation? High Counselor Vexinar asked, though her telepathic voice suggested she already knew the answer. We send a full battle fleet to the Sol system, General Crixmoth declared. End this problem at its source before it spreads. Ambassador Thexara nodded agreement. A show of overwhelming force. When the humans see our combined might, they'll surrender or be destroyed. Either outcome is acceptable. As the delegates filed out to prepare their respective fleets, none noticed the small electromagnetic pulse that had been broadcasting their entire conversation across subspace frequencies. None realized that their primitive enemy had been listening to every word, learning their capabilities, and preparing a response that would shake the galaxy to its foundations. In the darkness between stars, something was already moving. Admiral Chen Wei stood in the observation deck of the UES Defiance, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them. The blue marble looked peaceful from this distance, but Chen knew that appearance was deceiving. Every continent buzzed with activity as humanity prepared for what many believed would be their final battle. Admiral, called Captain Rodriguez from the communication station. We're receiving the expected transmission from the Galactic Fleet. They'll be here in 72 hours. Chen nodded, unsurprised. The aliens had been remarkably predictable so far. Their arrogance blinded them to possibilities they couldn't imagine. Any word from the outer colonies? All 15 sites report successful evacuation and preparation completion. The volunteers are in position. The volunteers. Chen's expression darkened as she thought about the men and women who had chosen to stay behind in those doomed systems. They knew they wouldn't survive what was coming. But their sacrifice had bought humanity something precious. Knowledge. And time to prepare. Dr. Patel, Chen called to the woman hunched over a quantum computer terminal. Status report on Project Looking Glass. Dr. Sarah Patel looked up, her eyes red from hours of continuous work. We've successfully decoded their communication protocols, command structures, and tactical databases. Their encryption was sophisticated, but it assumed no one would be monitoring quantum entanglement frequencies. Chen smiled grimly. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their assumptions about human capabilities. They saw primitive technology and assumed primitive thinking. They couldn't comprehend that humans had developed quantum communication and artificial intelligence while still using chemical rockets, simply because humanity had never bothered to make their technology consistent or logical. Show me what we learned, Chen ordered. The holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of galactic space. Red indicators marked the positions of the incoming alien fleets. 3 massive armadas converging on the Sol system from different directions. The Dominion Alliance is bringing 1,200 ships, Dr. Patel explained, highlighting the first fleet. Standard formation. Heavy cruisers in front, carrier groups in the middle, support vessels in the rear. Their weapons rely on plasma-based energy systems and projected shield barriers. The crystalline hegemony has 800 ships, but they're technologically superior, she continued, marking the second fleet. Their vessels can manipulate matter at the molecular level and generate energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations. And the Hive Collective? Chen asked, though she suspected she already knew. 2,000 ships, but most are smaller craft designed for swarming tactics. They rely on overwhelming numbers and coordinated assault patterns controlled by a central hive mind. Chen studied the display, noting the aliens' approach vectors and timing. 4,000 ships total. They're not taking any chances. Admiral, interrupted Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. Incoming priority transmission from New Geneva Command. The display shifted to show Fleet Admiral Morrison, his weathered face grim with determination. Chen, I hope your people are ready. Long-range sensors confirm the alien fleets are accelerating their approach. We have 68 hours, not 72. We're ready, sir, Chen replied. All preparations are complete. Good, remember, we only get one chance at this. If we fail, humanity becomes extinct. If we succeed? Morrison paused, the weight of what they were attempting clear in his expression. If we succeed, we change the balance of power in this galaxy forever. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Chen looked around at her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and determination in their faces. They all knew the odds. They all knew what failure meant. But they also knew what humans were capable of when their backs were against the wall. Dr. Patel, activate the fabrication units. I want every available resource converted to our specifications. Aye, Admiral. Asteroid mining platforms are already in position. The outer system fabrication network will be online within 6 hours. Chen turned to Captain Rodriguez. Send the activation signal to all sleeper units. It's time to wake up our surprises. Throughout the Sol system, in the asteroid belt on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and in the deep space between planets, thousands of objects that had appeared to be simple mining equipment or scientific installations began to transform. Camouflaged manufacturing platforms revealed their true purpose, constructing vessels and weapons based on technology the aliens had never seen before. Admiral, called the sensor operator, I'm detecting massive energy spikes throughout the system. The fabrication network is exceeding projected output by 40%. Chen wasn't surprised. Human engineering had always excelled under pressure. When facing extinction, humanity had a remarkable talent for making the impossible happen through sheer determination and creative thinking. Dr. Patel, how long until the mirror network is operational? 18 hours for basic functionality, 36 for full capacity. The quantum entanglement arrays are already synchronized. The mirror network was humanity's greatest secret weapon, a project that had been under development since first contact with the galactic empires. Using principles the aliens had never discovered, it would allow instantaneous communication and coordination across impossible distances. More importantly, it would allow humanity to do something the aliens couldn't imagine: fight as a truly unified species. Captain Rodriguez, signal all Earth defense platforms. Begin deploying the decoy protocol. Aye, Admiral. All platforms are moving to designated positions. Chen watched as hundreds of objects began moving throughout the inner system, each one broadcasting energy signatures identical to human military vessels. From a distance, the aliens would see exactly what they expected: a primitive species desperately trying to defend their homeworld with inferior technology. They would be wrong. Dr. Patel, Chen said quietly, show me the real numbers. Dr. Patel's fingers flew over her controls, and the holographic display shifted to show the true scope of humanity's preparations. Hidden manufacturing platforms, disguised weapon systems, and camouflaged ships filled the system. The real human fleet wasn't hundreds of vessels, it was thousands. Impressive, Chen murmured. But numbers won't be enough. Show me the ace in the hole. The display zoomed in on a single object orbiting between Mars and Jupiter, a captured asteroid that appeared unremarkable to external sensors. But Chen knew what it really contained. Project Prometheus is fully operational, Dr. Patel reported. All safety protocols are disabled. We can activate it on your command, Chen nodded. Prometheus was humanity's most dangerous creation, a weapon that violated several laws of physics and would likely be considered a war crime by any civilized species. It was also their only chance of survival. Admiral, reported the communications officer. We're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Chen almost laughed. Even now, facing what they believed was certain victory, the aliens wanted humanity to simply give up. They couldn't understand that humans had never learned how to surrender when survival was at stake. Open a channel, Chen ordered. Let's give them our answer. The transmission activated and Chen looked directly into the camera, knowing her words would reach the alien commanders in a few hours. This is Admiral Chen Wei of the United Earth Space Forces. You have invaded our territory, destroyed our colonies, and threatened our species with extinction. You believe we are primitive and helpless. You're about to learn why that assumption will cost you everything. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. And we never forgive. The transmission ended and Chen turned back to her crew. All stations prepare for Operation Prometheus. In 60 hours, we show these superior species what happens when they underestimate humanity. In the depths of space, the alien fleets continued their approach, confident in their technological superiority and overwhelming numbers. They had no idea that they were flying into a trap 3 years in the making, designed by a species that had turned warfare into an art form long before they reached the stars. Fleet Commander Thexara stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship Eternal Glory, watching the tactical displays show their approach to the human system. The combined alien armada was the largest force assembled in galactic history, over 4,000 vessels representing the pinnacle of 3 civilizations' military might. Long-range sensors are detecting significant activity in the inner system, reported Navigation Officer Keltham, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had participated in dozens of successful conquests. The humans appear to be positioning their defensive fleet around their homeworld. Thexara studied the readings with mild interest. The human fleet appeared to number roughly 800 vessels, which was surprisingly large for such a primitive species. However, their energy signatures indicated technology barely above the chemical propulsion level. It would be a massacre. Any signs of the weapon systems that eliminated our colonies? Asked General Crixmoth, his compound eyes reflecting the bridge's tactical displays. Negative, sir. All detected vessels match the technological profiles we established during our initial survey. Primitive fusion drives, basic energy weapons, crude armor plating. Nothing that poses a threat to our shields. Dr. Zephalon's crystalline form chimed thoughtfully from his position at the science station. I am detecting some unusual quantum fluctuations throughout the system, but they appear to be natural phenomena. Perhaps this star system has unique properties we haven't encountered before. Thexara nodded, dismissing the scientist's concerns. Natural phenomena were irrelevant when facing overwhelming technological superiority. Signal the fleet. All ships are to maintain formation and proceed to the optimal engagement range. We'll demonstrate our power before offering final surrender terms. The alien armada swept through the outer system like a metallic tide, their ships gleaming with energy shields and weapon arrays that could crack planets. The Dominion vessels formed the center, their plasma cannons charging with barely contained stellar fire. The crystalline hegemony ships flanked them, their matter manipulation beams ready to disintegrate anything they touched. The Hive Collective swarmed around the flanks, thousands of smaller craft moving in perfect coordination. Human vessels are holding position at the edge of their gravity well, reported the tactical officer. They appear to be waiting for us to enter weapons range. Fools, General Crixmoth clicked dismissively. They're giving up the advantage of mobility. This will be over in minutes. Dr. Zephalon's form pulsed with sudden alarm. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy spikes throughout the system. The quantum fluctuations are intensifying exponentially. Explain, Thexara demanded, though she wasn't particularly concerned. Whatever the humans were attempting, it was too little and too late. The fluctuations appear to be emanating from multiple points throughout the system. They're creating some form of interference pattern that's affecting our sensor accuracy. Before Thexara could respond, the space around the alien fleet began to shimmer. What had appeared to be empty vacuum suddenly revealed itself to be filled with objects that hadn't been there moments before. Thousands of them, cloaking technology, shouted the tactical officer. Unknown vessels are decloaking throughout our formation. Thexara's 6 arms moved rapidly across her command console as she tried to understand what was happening. The tactical display showed their orderly formation now surrounded by human vessels that had somehow remained completely invisible until this moment. The human fleet hadn't numbered 800 ships, it numbered over 3,000. Impossible, General Crixmoth hissed. Our sensors can detect anything above the quantum level. No cloaking technology in the galaxy can hide from our scans. Dr. Zephalon's chiming reached a frantic pitch. These aren't cloaked ships, Commander. They're using some form of dimensional folding technology. They were literally existing in parallel space until now. The implications hit Thexara like a physical blow. Dimensional manipulation was theoretical even for the most advanced galactic civilizations. If the humans had mastered it, then everything they knew about this species was wrong. All ships, emergency combat formation, she ordered. Full shields, weapons hot. Prepare for immediate engagement. But the human ships weren't attacking. Instead, they were transmitting something on all frequencies, a signal that made no sense according to any known communication protocol. What are they broadcasting? Thexara demanded. Dr. Zephalon worked frantically to decode the transmission. It appears to be music. No, wait. It's more complex than that. They're broadcasting mathematical equations set to rhythmic patterns. The answer came from an unexpected source. Communications Officer Yathara, her tentacles pale with fear, looked up from her station. Commander, it's not random music. It's a countdown. They're telling us exactly when they're going to attack. The rhythmic patterns continued for exactly 60 seconds, then stopped. The universe exploded. The human ships opened fire simultaneously, but their weapons were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, they fired what appeared to be small black holes that consumed everything they touched. Crystalline hegemony ships with their supposedly impenetrable matter shields simply ceased to exist as the artificial singularities passed through them. Shields down to 60%, shouted the tactical officer. These weapons are ignoring our defense systems completely. Thexara watched in horror as entire sections of the alien fleet vanished into quantum foam. The humans had somehow weaponized black holes, turning gravity itself into a tool of war. Worse, they were firing these weapons with pinpoint accuracy from distances that should have made targeting impossible. Return fire, General Crixmoth commanded. All ships target the nearest human vessels. The alien fleet responded with devastating force. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids, matter manipulation beams that could disintegrate molecular bonds, and quantum torpedo swarms that could track targets across space-time. The combined firepower of 4,000 ships focused on the human fleet should have obliterated them instantly. The human ships absorbed the assault without apparent damage. Impossible. Dr. Zephalon's crystalline form was flashing rapid colors of distress. Our weapons are making contact, but they're having no effect. It's as if the human ships are immune to energy weapons. Thexara studied the tactical display in growing disbelief. The human vessels were somehow converting the alien weapons' energy into power for their own systems. Every shot that hit them made them stronger. They're using some form of exotic matter construction, Dr. Zephalon reported, his voice carrying undertones of scientific fascination despite the circumstances. Their hulls appear to be made from crystallized dark energy. It absorbs conventional weapons and converts the energy to fuel their own systems. The battle continued for another 30 minutes, but the outcome was never in doubt. The alien fleet, for all its technological superiority and overwhelming numbers, had been designed to fight conventional opponents. They had no defense against weapons that manipulated fundamental forces, no countermeasures for ships that fed on their attacks, and no tactics for dealing with an enemy that could appear anywhere in space without warning. One by one, the great ships of the galactic empires fell silent. The Eternal Glory, heavily damaged and alone among the wreckage of the once mighty armada, attempted to retreat. But space itself seemed to be working against them, as if the humans had somehow turned the vacuum into an ally. Commander, Communications Officer Yathara whispered. We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. The main display activated, showing Admiral Chen Wei standing on the bridge of her flagship. Behind her, through the viewports, the wreckage of 4,000 alien ships drifted in the darkness. Fleet Commander Thexara, Chen said calmly, you came here believing you were superior. You thought our primitive nature made us weak. You were wrong. We are not primitive, we are focused. Every moment of human history has been spent learning how to destroy threats to our survival. You became a threat, Thexera found her voice. How? How did you develop such technology? Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You assumed that technological advancement follows logical patterns. You developed faster-than-light travel before weaponizing gravity. You achieved molecular manipulation before understanding dimensional physics. Humans don't follow your patterns. We developed world-ending weapons before we learned to live in peace. We mastered quantum mechanics before we stopped fighting each other. Our chaos is our strength. The transmission continued, but Thexera was no longer listening. She was thinking about the reports from the 15 outer colonies, the ones that had been silenced so completely. Now she understood what had happened there. The humans hadn't been defending those worlds. They had been learning, studying their enemies, and preparing for this moment. The galaxy's greatest predators had just become prey. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in a state of panic that hadn't been seen in 3 millennia. High Counselor Vexinar's telepathic presence radiated barely controlled fear as she surveyed the assembled representatives of the remaining galactic powers. The holographic displays showed the devastating truth. The combined fleet of 4,000 ships had been reduced to fewer than 200 survivors, and those were scattered across 3 star systems, limping home with critical damage. The reports are confirmed, announced Intelligence Director Kelthos, his voice carrying the hollow tone of someone who had seen the impossible. Fleet Commander Thexera's final transmission before her ship was destroyed contained detailed sensor logs of the engagement. The humans possess technology that exceeds our understanding by several orders of magnitude. Ambassador Mordex of the Outer Rim Collective shifted nervously in his environmental suit. How many casualties? Total losses include 1,100 Dominion vessels, 760 crystalline hegemony ships, and 1,800 Hive collective craft. Approximately 40 million military personnel are confirmed dead or missing. The silence that followed was deafening. In 3,000 years of galactic expansion, no single engagement had resulted in such devastating losses. The empires had faced rebellions, cosmic phenomena, and interdimensional threats, but never an enemy that could simply erase their most advanced weapons and turn their own technology against them. Show us the weapon analysis, High Counselor Vexinar commanded, her mental voice tight with barely suppressed terror. Dr. Zephalon's surviving crystalline form appeared in holographic projection from his medical facility. Half of his structure had been shattered during the battle, but his intellect remained sharp. The humans employed at least 7 different weapon systems that we cannot replicate or counter. Their primary armament appears to be artificially generated micro-singularities that ignore conventional shielding and consume matter at the quantum level. The display showed tactical recordings of human ships, firing what appeared to be small black holes with surgical precision. Each shot simply erased whatever it touched, leaving nothing behind, not even debris. Their defensive systems are equally incomprehensible, Dr. Zephalon continued. Their ship hulls appear to be constructed from crystallized dark energy, which absorbs incoming weapon fire and converts it to power their own systems. The more we attacked them, the stronger they became. Ambassador Mordex leaned forward, his translator working overtime to convey his species' concept of disbelief. You're saying they've weaponized forces that we've barely learned to detect? Worse than that, Dr. Zephalon replied. They've integrated these technologies into their basic military doctrine. This wasn't experimental equipment. These were production warships built for sustained combat operations. High Counselor Vexinar's telepathic presence pressed against every mind in the chamber. How long would it take our best scientists to develop countermeasures? The pause before Dr. Zephalon answered told them everything they needed to know. Conservative estimate, 3 to 5 centuries, and that assumes we can obtain working examples of their technology to study. Unacceptable, declared War Minister Kelthera of the Dominion Remnant. We must consider immediate military options. Perhaps a coordinated strike using our remaining forces. With what? Interrupted Admiral Vosek, his cybernetic implants sparking with agitation. You want to send our remaining ships against an enemy that just erased 4,000 vessels without suffering a single confirmed loss? That's not military strategy. That's suicide. Intelligence Director Kelthos activated another display, showing the current positions of human forces throughout the galaxy. It gets worse. Long-range sensors are detecting human fleet movements in 47 different systems. They're not remaining in their territory, they're expanding. The implications hit the assembled delegates like a physical blow. The humans weren't content to defend themselves. They were going on the offensive. What are their targets? High Counselor Vexinar asked, though she suspected she already knew. Every system where our forces conducted civilization upgrading operations in the past 50 cycles, Kelthos replied grimly. They're systematically visiting every location where we relocated or eliminated primitive species. Ambassador Mordex's environmental suit registered extreme stress readings. They're seeking revenge. No, corrected Dr. Zephalon, his damaged form pulsing with analytical certainty. Revenge would be emotional, chaotic, inefficient. This is systematic. They're eliminating threats to what they consider acceptable civilization. The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed this information. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were implementing their own version of galactic order, one that apparently didn't include the current empires. We need to establish communication, suggested diplomatic coordinator Yithmara. Perhaps we can negotiate terms, find some form of coexistence. They've already established their terms, Intelligence Director Kelthos interrupted, activating another display. This message was broadcast on all frequencies following their victory in the Sol system. The display showed Admiral Chen Wei standing on the bridge of her flagship. Behind her, the wreckage of the galactic fleet drifted in space like a monument to failed arrogance. To the remaining forces of the Galactic Council, Chen's voice was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. For 3 millennia, you have imposed your will on countless species through superior technology and overwhelming force. You have relocated populations, eliminated resistance, and justified genocide as civilization upgrading. That era has ended. The recording continued as Chen gestured to a holographic display showing human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. We are now implementing our own protocols for galactic civilization. Any species that wishes to coexist peacefully will be welcomed. Any faction that continues to practice forced relocation, species elimination, or imperial expansion will be removed. The message concluded with coordinates and a timestamp. Representatives of the former Galactic Council are invited to attend surrender negotiations at the specified location. You have 72 standard hours to respond. After that time, we will consider your silence to be a rejection of peaceful resolution. High Counselor Vexinar's telepathic presence radiated desperate calculation. Options? We could attempt to rally the remaining independent systems, suggested War Minister Kelthera. Combined, we might be able to field enough ships to accomplish what? Admiral Vosik interrupted. They just demonstrated that numbers are irrelevant against their technology. We could assemble 10,000 ships and the result would be the same. What about the Void Hunters? Asked Ambassador Mordex. They've remained neutral in galactic politics for millennia. Perhaps they would intervene if we offered sufficient compensation. Dr. Zephalon's form flickered with what might have been amusement. The Void Hunters are already negotiating with the humans. According to intercepted communications, they're offering to share their dimensional travel technology in exchange for protection from aggressive younger species, meaning us. The revelation hit the chamber like a nova blast. The Void Hunters were the oldest known species in the galaxy, possessing technology that made even the crystalline hegemony look primitive. If they were allying with humanity, it meant they considered the humans to be the dominant power now. So we surrender, said Diplomatic Coordinator Yithmara quietly. We attend their negotiations and hope they're more merciful than we were. And if they're not? War Minister Kelthera demanded. The answer came from an unexpected source. Communications Officer Pelthon, monitoring long-range sensors, looked up from his station with an expression of pure terror. Sirs, I'm detecting massive energy signatures in the Vega system. It appears to be... Oh no. Report, High Counselor Vexinar commanded. The humans just activated some kind of stellar engineering project. They're moving the star itself. The tactical display shifted to show long-range sensor readings from the Vega system. The star, a massive blue giant, was being pulled from its natural position by gravitational manipulators of unprecedented scale. Planets were being moved like chess pieces, their orbits adjusted to accommodate some incomprehensible human design. They're not just rearranging solar systems, Dr. Zephalon whispered in scientific awe. They're building something that requires the energy output of an entire star. High Counselor Vexinar closed her mental presence, shutting out the growing panic in the chamber. When she opened it again, her decision was clear and final. Signal the human fleet. Inform them that the Galactic Council accepts their invitation to surrender negotiations. The age of galactic empires was over. The age of humanity had begun. The negotiation facility hung in space between the ruins of two civilizations, a crystalline structure built from materials that seemed to bend light around them. High Counselor Vexinar materialized within her environmental field, her telepathic senses immediately overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of the human mind surrounding her. Unlike the ordered thought patterns of galactic species, human consciousness felt like chaos given form, millions of conflicting ideas, emotions, and concepts all somehow working together in ways that defied logic. Admiral Chenwei stood at the center of the chamber, flanked by humans whose presence made Vexinar's telepathic abilities recoil in confusion. These weren't just military officers, they were something else entirely. Their thoughts moved too quickly, processed too much information, and displayed cognitive capabilities that suggested enhancement beyond natural evolution. Counselor Vexinar, Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying none of the deference that galactic protocols demanded. I understand you speak for the remaining Imperial factions. I do, Vexinar replied, struggling to maintain her composure despite the alien mental environment. Though I must confess your cognitive signatures are unlike anything we've encountered. Have you undergone some form of technological enhancement? The human beside Chen, a tall woman with silver eyes that seemed to see too much, smiled without warmth. Dr. Sarah Patel, Director of Human Enhancement Programs. What you're sensing isn't technological augmentation, Counselor. It's evolutionary acceleration. Explain. Dr. Patel gestured to a holographic display that showed human brain activity compared to baseline galactic species. Your civilizations developed technology to supplement natural capabilities. Humans chose a different path. We enhanced our biological systems directly, integrating quantum processing capabilities into our neural architecture. Every human you see here can think faster than your most advanced computers. Vexinar's telepathic probe recoiled as it touched the edge of Dr. Patel's consciousness. The human mind was like touching a star, too bright, too hot, too intense for telepathic contact. That should be impossible. Biological neural networks can't support quantum processing without cellular destruction. Only if you assume biological systems must remain unmodified, Admiral Chen replied. Humans have never been particularly concerned with natural limitations. We've been altering ourselves since we discovered genetics. A third human stepped forward, an elderly man whose presence radiated calm authority despite the chaos of his thoughts. Dr. Marcus Webb, formerly of the Earth Genetics Council. We've been preparing for galactic contact for longer than you realize. When we detected your monitoring systems 50 cycles ago, we knew this confrontation was inevitable. Vexinar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the environmental controls. You knew we were watching? Of course, Dr. Webb replied matter-of-factly. Your surveillance technology is sophisticated, but it operates on principles we mastered decades ago. We've been feeding you carefully selected information while developing countermeasures to everything in your technological arsenal. The implications were staggering. The galactic empires had believed they were studying a primitive species, but they had actually been observed and manipulated by a civilization that understood their capabilities better than they understood themselves. The question now, Admiral Chen continued, is what happens to your remaining populations. Our preliminary analysis suggests that your societies are too integrated, with imperial structures to survive the transition to our preferred model of galactic organization. Vexinar's environmental field flickered with alarm. You're talking about genocide. No, Dr. Patel corrected, her enhanced mind processing concepts faster than Vexinar could follow. We're talking about evolution. Your species have spent millennia developing as imperial subjects or rulers. Those social structures are incompatible with the free association model we're implementing. Show her the proposals, Admiral Chen ordered. The holographic display shifted to show detailed plans for the restructuring of galactic civilization. Vexinar studied the information with growing amazement and horror. The humans weren't just planning to replace the existing empires. They were redesigning the fundamental principles of interstellar society. Proposal 1. Voluntary integration, Dr. Webb explained. Species that demonstrate capacity for independent technological development and peaceful coexistence will be offered full membership in the Galactic Cooperative. This includes access to human enhancement technologies and shared resources. Proposal 2. Guided development, Dr. Patel continued. Species currently dependent on Imperial infrastructure will undergo supervised transition to independence. This process is estimated to require between 50 and 200 cycles depending on cultural adaptability. Proposal 3. Preservation Protocol, Admiral Chen concluded. Species deemed incompatible with cooperative society will be relocated to designated preservation systems where they can maintain their existing social structures without affecting galactic development. Vexinar's telepathic abilities processed the implications faster than our conscious mind wanted to accept them. You're dividing the galaxy into categories based on your evaluation of species' evolutionary potential. Correct, Admiral Chen confirmed. Though unlike the previous Imperial model, advancement between categories is possible. The goal is sustainable galactic civilization, not permanent hierarchy. And if we refuse these options? Dr. Patel's silver eyes reflected starlight as she answered. Then you continue the pattern that brought us to this point. Imperial expansion, forced relocation, species elimination, in which case you become a threat that must be removed. The chamber fell silent except for the subtle hum of the station's quantum generators. Vexinar found herself facing a choice that no galactic leader had confronted in 3 millennia. Submit to a superior civilization or face extinction. We need guarantees, she said finally. Assurances that our species will survive this transition. You'll get them, Admiral Chen replied, but they come with conditions. Your remaining military forces will be decommissioned. Your imperial governments will be dissolved. Your populations will undergo psychological evaluation to determine their compatibility with cooperative society. And our leaders? Dr. Webb's expression softened slightly. Those who cooperate with the transition will be offered positions in the new administrative structure. Those who resist will be relocated to preservation systems. Those who actively oppose the process will be treated as hostile combatants. Vexinar's telepathic senses touched the minds around her, searching for deception or uncertainty. She found none. These humans weren't bluffing or negotiating. They were stating facts about a future they had already decided. How long do we have to decide? The decision period ended when you entered this facility, Admiral Chen said calmly. Our analysis of your thoughts, body language, and telepathic emanations indicates a 97% probability that you will accept Proposal 2, Guided Development. The remaining 3% represents the possibility that you will attempt to stall negotiations, while your remaining forces prepare for a final assault. Vexinar's environmental field flickered again as she realized the humans had been reading her intentions with scientific precision. And if that 3% proves accurate? Dr. Patel smiled, and for a moment her enhanced consciousness projected an image directly into Vexinar's telepathic awareness. It showed the Vega system, where humans had been moving stars like toys. But now she could see what they were building. A weapon capable of sterilizing entire galactic regions by manipulating stellar radiation on an impossible scale. Then we implement the cleansing protocol, Dr. Patel said softly, and galactic civilization starts over with species that have demonstrated compatibility with peaceful coexistence. Vexinar closed her telepathic presence, shutting out the overwhelming chaos of human consciousness. When she opened it again, her decision was clear. The Galactic Council formally accepts Proposal 2, Guided Development. We request that the transition be implemented as humanely as possible. Admiral Chen nodded, showing no surprise at the outcome. Transition teams are already en route to your remaining systems. Integration specialists will arrive within 10 cycles to begin the evaluation and restructuring process. As Vexinar prepared to leave, she couldn't resist one final question. Why? You could have simply destroyed us all. Why offer these alternatives? Dr. Webb answered with something that might have been compassion. Because despite your imperial arrogance, you represent 3,000 years of scientific and cultural development. That knowledge has value. even if your political systems do not. Besides, Admiral Chen added, extinction is inefficient. Conversion produces better long-term results than elimination. As Vexinar's environmental field carried her away from the negotiation station, she realized that humanity had just demonstrated something more terrifying than their military capabilities. They had shown mercy, but it was the mercy of a predator that had already decided its prey's fate. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to be civilized by a species that had conquered themselves before conquering the stars. 6 months after the surrender negotiations, the galaxy was transforming in ways that defied 3 millennia of established order. Director Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck of the UES Meridian, watching as massive engineering platforms dismantled the former Dominion capital world's orbital defense network. The process was methodical, efficient, and irreversible, much like everything humanity had accomplished since their victory. Status report, Elena called to her aide. Lieutenant Commander Singh. Integration proceeds on schedule across all former Imperial territories, Singh replied, consulting his quantum tablet. 47 species have qualified for cooperative membership. 18 remain in guided development programs. 3 have been relocated to preservation systems. Elena nodded, though the statistics represented the largest forced migration in galactic history. Unlike the brutal relocations practiced by the former empires, humanity's approach was surgical in its precision and disturbing in its effectiveness. Any resistance movements? 12 active insurgencies reported in the past cycle. All have been neutralized using Protocol 7. Elena's expression darkened. Protocol 7 was humanity's solution to violent resistance, complete neural restructuring of captured insurgents. Not execution, something far more thorough. Prisoners underwent a process that preserved their memories and personalities, while removing their capacity for violence or imperial thinking. They were returned to their populations as living examples of what resistance accomplished. Dr. Patel's psychological conversion programs show remarkable success rates, Singh continued. 96% of processed individuals report satisfaction with their new cognitive frameworks. The comm system activated, interrupting their discussion. Director Vasquez, priority transmission from Earth Command. Transfer it to my ready room, Elena ordered. Lieutenant Commander, you have the bridge. Elena's ready room was a study in human efficiency, minimal furniture, maximum information access, and walls that could display data from across the galaxy in real time. Admiral Chen Wei's image materialized in the center of the room, her expression carrying the weight of recent developments. Elena, we have a situation developing in the Outer Rim territories. The Void Hunters are requesting immediate consultation regarding what they're calling temporal irregularities. Elena felt a chill of concern. The Void Hunters were the oldest known species in the galaxy, possessing technology that made human achievements look primitive. If they were worried about something, it represented a threat on an unprecedented scale. What kind of irregularities? Reality fractures, Admiral Chen replied grimly. Apparently, our stellar engineering projects in the Vega system have destabilized something called the chronological substrate. The Void Hunters claim we've damaged the fundamental structure of space-time. Elena accessed her personal files on Void Hunter technology. Though the information was frustratingly limited, the ancient species rarely shared details about their capabilities, preferring to observe galactic events from their extra-dimensional refugees. Are they threatening intervention? Worse, they're offering to help us fix it. Admiral Chen's expression grew more serious. Elena, they've provided preliminary data about what we're dealing with. The stellar manipulation we've been conducting isn't just moving stars. It's creating ripples in the temporal matrix that could affect causality itself. Elena sat down heavily, processing the implications. Humanity's rapid expansion and massive engineering projects had been designed to demonstrate their technological superiority and reshape galactic civilization. The possibility that they might have accidentally damaged reality itself was both terrifying and somehow typically human. What's their proposed solution? They want to establish a joint research facility to study the problem. Full technology sharing, combined resources, immediate implementation. They're treating this as an existential threat to the entire galaxy. Elena laughed bitterly. 6 months ago, we were a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Now we've accidentally broken time itself. There's something poetic about that. Elena, this isn't amusing. If the Void Hunters are correct, our actions could cause a cascade failure that erases the last billion years of galactic history. Every species, every civilization, every achievement, gone. The weight of Admiral Chen's words settled over Elena like a physical presence. Humanity had sought to remake the galaxy in their image, but they might have unmade it entirely instead. What does Dr. Patel's team say about this? They're already en route to rendezvous with the Void Hunter research vessel. Initial analysis suggests the temporal damage is localized but expanding. We have perhaps 50 cycles before the effects become irreversible. Elena stood and began pacing, her enhanced neural networks processing possibilities at superhuman speed. How do we explain this to the integrated species? We've spent months convincing them that human leadership represents stability and order. Now we have to tell them we've accidentally endangered the existence of everything? We don't, Admiral Chen replied firmly. Information about the temporal crisis is classified at the highest levels. Only essential personnel are being informed. The last thing we need is galaxy-wide panic while we're trying to fix the problem. And if we can't fix it, Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment before answering. Then we implement the final contingency protocols. Evacuation of essential genetic material and cultural databases to alternate dimensional refuges. At least something of galactic civilization would survive the reset. Elena felt a familiar chill at the mention of contingency protocols. Humanity's long-term planning included scenarios so dire that she preferred not to think about them. The fact that they were being considered meant the situation was worse than Admiral Chen was admitting. I need a full briefing on our cooperation with the Void Hunters. If we're working with them directly, it means revealing our true technological capabilities. Already arranged. They're providing access to their temporal research databases in exchange for our stellar engineering specifications. Apparently, they've been watching our development for centuries and consider us promising primitives with dangerous creativity. Elena almost smiled at that description. It seemed that even the galaxy's most advanced species viewed humanity with a mixture of admiration and concern. There's something else, Admiral Chen continued. The Void Hunters have offered to provide us with information about other developing species they've been monitoring. Apparently, we're not the only dangerous primitives in the galaxy. Elena paused her pacing. How many others? 17 species showing technological development patterns similar to early humanity. The Void Hunters are recommending immediate contact and integration into our cooperative structure before they develop capabilities that could threaten galactic stability. The irony wasn't lost on Elena. Humanity had become what the galactic empires once were, a dominant species seeking to control the development of younger civilizations. The difference was that humans had legitimate reasons to fear what uncontrolled technological advancement might accomplish. Send me the files on these 17 species. If we're going to be responsible for galactic stability, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Already transmitted. Elena, there's one more thing. The Void Hunters have made it clear that our success in resolving the temporal crisis will determine whether they consider humanity a suitable successor to galactic leadership. If we fail, Elena didn't need Admiral Chen to finish the sentence. If humanity failed to fix the damage they had caused, the Void Hunters would likely step in to manage galactic affairs directly. 3 millennia of evolution toward independence and cooperation would be replaced by the benevolent tyranny of beings so advanced that resistance would be meaningless. Understood. I'll coordinate with Dr. Patel's team and establish communication protocols with the Void Hunter researchers. How long before their ship arrives in this system? 18 hours. Elena, be careful. We're about to learn if humanity is wise enough to handle the power we've claimed. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with the weight of responsibility that came with galactic dominance. Through the viewport, she could see human ships dismantling the remnants of the old Imperial Order. Soon, those same ships might be racing against time to prevent the collapse of reality itself. She activated her personal communicator and began assembling the crisis response team. If humanity was going to save the galaxy from their own success, they would need every advantage they could gather. The age of human dominance was barely 6 months old, and they had already discovered the terrible responsibility that came with absolute power. 1 year after the temporal crisis began, Dr. Sarah Patel stood in the command center of the Joint Human Void Hunter Research Facility. watching reality reassemble itself around the Vega system. The process was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, space-time flowing like liquid, crystal as the universe repaired damage that should have been impossible to heal. Final calibrations complete, announced Keeper Veltar, the Void Hunter's primary researcher. Their form shifted between dimensions as they spoke, making them difficult to focus on directly. The chronological substrate has stabilized within acceptable parameters. Dr. Patel studied the readings on her quantum display, still amazed by what they had accomplished. Temporal fracture sealed, causality chains restored, and no detectable paradox formation. I have to admit, when you first showed us the scope of the damage, I didn't think it was possible to fix it. Nor did we, Keeper Veltar replied, their voice carrying harmonics that existed in parallel dimensions. Your species' capacity for what you call creative problem-solving continues to astonish us. Using stellar plasma as a temporal welding agent was innovative. The solution had required combining human engineering audacity with Void Hunter temporal science in ways that violated several laws of physics. They had essentially rebuilt a section of space-time by channeling the energy output of 3 stars through artificially generated black holes, using the resulting gravitational distortions to weave new causal threads into the damaged areas of reality. Dr. Patel called Lieutenant Morrison from the communications station. Incoming transmission from Admiral Chen. She's requesting immediate status update. Transfer it to my office, Dr. Patel replied. Keeper Veltar, I assume you'll want to monitor this conversation? If you do not object. Your species' political processes remain fascinating to observe. Dr. Patel's office was a testament to the collaboration between 2 vastly different approaches to science. Human equipment designed for rapid modification and breakthrough discoveries, alongside Void Hunter technology that operated according to principles humanity was still learning to understand. Admiral Chen's image appeared with perfect clarity, despite the fact that she was transmitting from a ship located in another dimension. Sarah, please tell me you have good news. The temporal crisis is resolved, Dr. Patel reported. Reality is stable, and the Void Hunters confirm that we've successfully repaired all chronological damage. The Vega System stellar engineering project can continue without risk to the galactic timeline. Admiral Chen's relief was visible. Outstanding work. What's the status of our cooperation agreement with the Void Hunters? Keeper Veltar materialized beside Dr. Patel, their dimensional form settling into something approaching visibility. Admiral Chen, your species has proven itself capable of both creating and resolving existential threats to galactic stability. This demonstrates the advanced judgment we require in potential partners. Partners? Admiral Chen asked, though Dr. Patel could see she understood the implications. The Void Hunters have offered to formalize our relationship, Dr. Patel explained. Full technology sharing, joint oversight of galactic development, and shared responsibility for preventing future crisis situations. In exchange for what? Keeper Veltar's form shifted as they considered their words. Your species will assume responsibility for managing the 17 developing civilizations we have identified. Your demonstrated ability to integrate diverse species while maintaining technological advancement makes you ideal for this role. Dr. Patel activated a holographic display showing the current state of galactic civilization. Admiral, in the past year we've successfully integrated 62 species into the cooperative structure. Imperial systems have been converted to democratic federations. Resource conflicts have been eliminated through technological advancement and fair distribution protocols. And the resistance movements? Neutralized through psychological adjustment rather than elimination. Former imperial leaders who couldn't adapt to cooperative society have been relocated to comfortable preservation systems where they can maintain their preferred social structures without affecting galactic development. Admiral Chen studied the data for several minutes before responding. What about the 3 species that were classified as incompatible with integration? Keeper Veltar answered this question. The hegemony remnants, the Dominion purists, and the Hive Orthodox have been relocated to specially prepared systems in the galactic periphery. They maintain their imperial structures but lack the resources or technology to affect other civilizations. Essentially, we've created reservations for incompatible societies, Dr. Patel added. They're monitored but not controlled. If their civilizations evolve toward cooperation, they can request reintegration. If they remain aggressive, they're contained. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. And the Void Hunters approve of our methods? Your approach demonstrates remarkable sophistication for such a young species, Keeper Veltar replied. Most civilizations that achieve galactic dominance either practice genocide or attempt forced conversion. Humanity has developed a third option, managed coexistence. Dr. Patel brought up another display showing the 17 developing species the Void Hunters had identified. These civilizations are showing early signs of the aggressive technological development that characterized human history. The Void Hunters want us to establish contact and guide their development before they become threats to galactic stability. Are any of them actually dangerous? 3 show particular concern, Keeper Veltar replied, highlighting specific systems on the display. The Sectar have developed biological weapons capable of eliminating entire biospheres. The Morden are experimenting with dimensional warfare technology. The Felnari have begun constructing stellar-scale weapons. Admiral Chen studied the information with the expression of someone who recognized familiar patterns. They're following our development path. Precisely, Dr. Patel confirmed. The Void Hunters believe that species which develop dangerous technologies before achieving social stability represent the greatest threat to galactic civilization. Left unchecked, any one of these civilizations could cause damage similar to what we accidentally inflicted on the temporal substrate. What's our recommended approach? Keeper Veltar's form stabilized as they outlined the plan. Immediate contact with all 17 species. Evaluation of their psychological and social development. Integration of compatible civilizations into the cooperative structure. Guided development for unstable societies. Containment of irredeemably aggressive cultures. Essentially, we become what the galactic empires were to us, Admiral Chen observed. No, Dr. Patel corrected. We become what the galactic empires should have been. We offer genuine choice, real development assistance, and alternatives to conflict. The difference is that we have the wisdom to recognize when a species genuinely cannot coexist with galactic civilization. Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment, considering the magnitude of what was being proposed. We're talking about assuming responsibility for the development of 17 civilizations, maintaining stability among 62 integrated species, and managing 3 incompatible societies, all while continuing our own advancement and cooperating with the Void Hunters. Correct, Keeper Veltar confirmed. It is a substantial responsibility. However, your species has demonstrated the creativity, adaptability, and moral flexibility required for such a role. And if we refuse, then galactic development continues without guidance until the next crisis emerges. Based on our projections, such a crisis is inevitable within the next 2 centuries. The question is whether humanity will help manage it or become one of its causes. Dr. Patel leaned forward, her enhanced cognitive systems processing the long-term implications. Admiral, we have the opportunity to shape galactic civilization for the next millennium. We can prevent the development of new imperial systems and guide younger species toward cooperative development. Admiral Chen smiled, but there was no humor in it. 1 year ago, we were fighting for our survival against galactic empires. Now we're being offered the chance to become the galaxy's caretakers. There's something poetic about that progression. Will humanity accept this responsibility? Keeper Veltar asked. Admiral Chen looked at Dr. Patel, who nodded her agreement, then back at the Void Hunter. We accept. But we do it our way, with consent, cooperation, and genuine respect for species diversity. Acceptable, Keeper Veltar replied. Your methods have proven effective. We will provide technological and advisory support while you implement your approach to galactic management. As the transmission ended, Dr. Patel realized that humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had fought for their independence, won it decisively, and then chosen to use their victory to create a better system rather than simply replacing one empire with another. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in 3 millennia, that was something to celebrate rather than fear. Outside the facility's viewports, the stars shone with the promise of a future where intelligence and cooperation would guide galactic development rather than fear and domination. It was a future that arrogant empires could never have imagined, but one that humanity was prepared to build.